A party of seasoned adventurers thought they were prepared for the lethal dungeon ahead, until their final member stepped into the room. Standing over 7 feet tall, with an aura of pure slaughter, the terrifying barbarian Katal had arrived. Just seconds earlier, this party was literally at each other's throats, swords drawn and blades dripping with lethal poison. The priestess was terrified they wouldn't survive the raid. But one look at Katal's demonic presence instantly made everyone shut their mouths. Yet, despite radiating enough dark energy to wipe out the whole room, he just flashed a cheerful smile and said, "Nice to meet you all." Tensions instantly reach a boiling point, as the veteran warrior grits his teeth in pure anger. Unable to hold back his rage, he draws his sword and lunges forward. With a furious shout, the rogue just smirks mockingly, resting his hand on his blade and daring him to attack. He unsheathes a blade dripping with deadly green poison, showing he is ready to kill immediately. But before their lethal weapons can cross, a sudden force stops both men dead in their tracks. Priestess Hyes lets out a heavy sigh, deeply worried about entering a dangerous dungeon with these two. She remembers that standard dungeon raids strictly require 4 members to survive the dangerous ordeal ahead. As anxiety sets in, she nervously wonders who could possibly be assigned as their final party member. Suddenly, the guild guard throws open the doors to announce that their final ally has finally arrived. A massive, intimidating warrior steps into the room, radiating an overwhelming aura of terrifying raw strength. The entire party flinches in collective shock as the massive barbarian steps into the small room. Contrary to his terrifying appearance, he offers a friendly smile and warmly greets his new companions. Both the veteran knight and the priestess stand utterly shocked by his sheer, unbelievable physical scale. Even the confident rogue breaks into a cold sweat, visibly shaken by the barbarian's overwhelming presence. The barbarian casually shrugs off their stunned reactions, cheerfully greeting the group once again without hesitation. Satisfied with the arrival, the guild guard bids them farewell and leaves the party to get acquainted. Breaking the awkward silence, the barbarian warmly introduces himself as Ketal, a proud warrior of his tribe. Ketal turns his gaze to the rogue, who flinches before nervously revealing his own name, Kasan. Crossing his arms with a solemn expression, Alexandro introduces himself as a veteran holy knight. Alexandro nervously stammers an awkward explanation about his abilities, while Ketal listens with a puzzled expression. Standing up politely, Hyes introduces herself as a humble priestess, serving the goddess Kalosia. Ketal looks at her with genuine confusion, asking why her identity is being questioned. She sheepishly confesses that Kalosia is the deity of deception, carrying an unfortunate reputation. With introductions finished, the newly formed party stands together, ready for the mission ahead. The guild guard turns back to inform them it is time to depart immediately. Moving out together, Ketal and Alexandro march forward with resolute focus toward their target. Following closely behind, Hyza gulps nervously, while Kasan remains wary of the road ahead. The party arrives at the dark, overgrown mouth of the dungeon, where danger awaits. Standing at the threshold, the 4 adventurers steel themselves to step into the abyss. Unfazed by the daunting darkness ahead, Ketal flashes a sharp, confident grin before entering. Ketal warmly tells Kasan to just call him by his name since they are teammates. Kasan rubs his chin awkwardly, trying to regain his composure and pivot the conversation forward. The 4 adventurers stand united, each bringing their unique combat skills to the upcoming battle. Kasan holds up a finger, laying out tactical roles and support duties for the group. Ketal cheerfully agrees to the plan, while Kasan lets out a relieved, nervous chuckle. Feeling ready, Ketal enthusiastically calls for the team to finally begin moving into action. The party advances cautiously deeper into the dark, eerie shadows of the dungeon passage. Hyes struggles to see in the dark, while Kasan notes the suspicious lack of traps. Sensing danger ahead, Kasan suddenly halts Ketal, warning him of a hidden monster nearby. Pointing ahead, Kasan directs their attention toward a skeletal corpse resting on the ground. Realizing the chief guard set them up, Kasan dreads that this raid is a trap for outsiders. Ketal ponders aloud, carefully examining the stationary skeletal remains resting right ahead of them. Kasan warns that skeletons are remarkably tough foes that keep moving, even when broken. Kasan commands the startled priestess to prepare her sacred magic and support the party. Kasan instructs the veteran warrior to raise his shield and hold the front-line defensive position. Kasan instructs everyone to strike the necks repeatedly, while Ketal admires his sharp leadership skills. A low, ominous growl echoes nearby as Ketal watches the situation unfold very closely. The skeletal warrior suddenly reanimates, glowing with eerie blue light while drawing its blade. The veteran warrior clenches his jaw tightly, gripping his large shield to prepare for impact. The priestess clasps her hands together, chanting a sacred spell as divine radiance surrounds her. Kasan draws Salmoin out his weapon, determined to strike down the reanimated monster before it attacks. Without missing a beat, Ketal winds up his arm to deliver a crushing blow. The glowing skeleton monster leaps forward, swinging its sharp blade with murderous intent. Ketal unleashes an overwhelming chop, completely obliterating the skeleton in a single hit. After instantly shattering the foe, Ketal stands calmly amidst the floating bone debris. The veteran warrior gapes in utter disbelief at the barbarian's insane, raw physical strength. Kasan and Heiser stare in complete shock, stunned by the effortless one-shot destruction. Ketal brightly thanks Kasan, noting that targeting the neck really stopped the creature cold. Kasan shivers nervously, stammering that decapitating the entire monster was not what he meant. Gulping nervously, Kasan admits he knew Ketal was strong, but never anticipated this level. The party falters in awe, wondering if Ketal is truly human after witnessing his overwhelming force. Flashing a confident smile, Ketal casually turns to the party and urges them to keep moving. Terrified into quick compliance, the party scrambles forward immediately to stay close behind their monstrous leader. Suddenly, Ketal halts in his tracks, making the entire group pause in anxious anticipation behind him. Nearby, clattering bone fragments begin rattling across the stone floor, signaling another enemy reassembling itself. Heiz panics in horror as she realizes another undead warrior is rising to fight them again. Kasan gulps nervously, tensing up as he senses the dark magic stirring in the cavern gloom. The veteran warrior lifts his massive shield, sternly warning the team to brace for another battle. Ketal steps out front alone, asking his party to let him test a few battle tactics. Grinning sinisterly with glowing purple eyes, Ketal prepares to handle the skeleton entirely on his own. Standing tall, Ketal calmly confronts the newly reassembled skeleton as it draws its glowing blade. Watching from behind, the party grows increasingly anxious, questioning what Ketal is planning to do. Smirking intrigued, Ketal strokes his chin while analyzing the skeleton's unusual physical bone structure. The skeleton lunges aggressively, bringing its glowing sword down in a violent downward strike. Effortlessly, Ketal blocks the heavy blade strike using only a single aura-infused finger. Eyeing his opponent closely, Ketal taunts the undead warrior, asking what it plans next. Refusing to back down, the undead warrior swings its sword around for another attack. The skeleton delivers a wide horizontal slash, yet Ketal stands completely unbothered by it. With effortless precision, Ketal lightly tilts his head back to dodge the incoming blade. Reaching out in an instant, Ketal firmly catches the skeleton's wrist mid-swing to stop it. Smiling brightly, Ketal looks at his undead opponent with an expression of pure delight. The skeletal hand breaks loose and clatters onto the stone floor along with its weapon. Ketal holds the detached bone hand in mild shock as it begins to crumble away, missing its hand. The skeleton stands completely bewildered, staring at its own empty arm socket. Its glowing blue eyes flare with sudden rage, glaring intensely at the smiling warrior ahead. The undead warrior flips its fallen sword upward, cleverly snatching it with its remaining hand. Impressed by the clever move, Ketal laughs heartily and praises his opponent's tactical skill. Dashing forward with incredible speed, the skeleton lunges, and for another aggressive melee strike. Unfazed, Ketal firmly catches the skeleton's attacking arm with an aura-infused ironclad grip. With effortless strength, he swings the skeleton around, completely throwing off its momentum and balance. The skeletal warrior lunges forward again with a swift motion, its eyes glowing with eerie light. It executes a rapid blade strike, yet Ketal stands completely calm and completely unbothered by it. Amused by its tactics, Ketal praises the skeleton for its surprising ability to adapt mid-combat. Watching the terrifying display, the nun trembles in shock, utterly overwhelmed by what she sees. The surrounding companions sweat nervously, paralyzed with fear at the brutal display of sheer power. Wrapped in a menacing aura, Ketal holds the skull high, embodying the terrifying true barbarian. With glowing eyes and a sinister smile, he prepares to finalize his overwhelming victory over it. The severed skeletal head falls heavily, clattering noisily onto the cold stone floor below them. Raising his heavy boot over the skull, Ketal marvels that it continues moving without head. Brushing off his hands with a warm smile, he casually apologizes to everyone for waiting.